Welcome back, fight fans. This is the Zone Boxing Show. I go with the name of Vok.
And I'm Barack the Boxing Bully.
So nice of you to join us. So much to touch on. Huge fight at 154. Big fight at 175. We're going to touch on all of that right now on the opening bell. We'll start off with Zurdo Ramirez. Another dominant performance, Barack. Fourth round stoppage. It almost seemed like it was a little too easy for him. I like his punch placement, body attack, body up, down, the way he places his punches, but it almost seemed like it's effortless, Barack. Like he doesn't even put all the steam behind the punches, but they're doing serious damage. I was very impressed with Zurdo.
I mean, he kind of showed me back when he was at 168, I'm talking about Zurdo, that he can box, he can move. He can stick and move. He's very, very good. It's just he didn't have those opponents to make him stand out, really. You know, he had like a 40-something-0 record, and now he's at 175. At least he's calling out the names. We already knew that this fight probably wasn't going to be a hard fight for him, especially now since we're seeing a different Zurdo. The Zurdo that's more comfortable at 175 pounds than he was at 168, and who's sitting down on his punches. An amazing body shot, you know, to end the fight, and he's doing that in every single fight at 175. Now we want to see him with the big names. We know that the biggest name is Bivol right now, and Beterbiev. Bivol might be wrapped up with a rematch. Beterbiev, he has his hands full with Joe Smith Jr. So I think right now Ramirez is playing the waiting game.
Right, to my understanding, he's the mandatory now for Bivol, and at that size, Barack, in that southpaw stance, from what you saw on Saturday night, is that a very competitive fight against Bivol? I think it is.
Actually, I used to always say that Bivol is the best at 175. I just felt like his boxing skills is just superior, you know, and I've seen Beterbiev outboxed a little bit, but then he crushes his opponent, you know, once he walks him down. But Bivol, he has legs 12 rounds. But when you're talking about Zurdo now, in the beginning when Zurdo went up to 175, I thought it was very dangerous for him. I thought he didn't have the punching power. Now he's displaying that he has that power and that skill set, and he's left-handed. My God, I would say that he's the most dangerous opponent for Bivol.
I agree with you, and I can't wait to see him against all of the big names at 175. Let's shift to another fight, which is a more meaningful fight this past weekend. It was a rematch between Charlo and Castano. Now Barack, the first fight, and I'll say this now, Charlo has pulled a Floyd Mayweather, okay? And you know what I mean. When people question the first one, he's done it twice. He did it with Harrison, he's done it with Castano, meaning there was some controversy for the first one, or maybe people felt like I lost the first one. Actually, the Harrison fight, people felt like he won that one but didn't get the decision. But he came back and put an exclamation point in the rematch, and he did it with Castano, who is a hell of a fighter. And in my opinion, this second fight was even more driven, more motivated, and he was even sharper in that fight, more skills. So Jamel had to step his game up even more in order to become undisputed at junior middleweight. Barack, I was super impressed with Charlo. He will be on Akim Barack's new pound for pound list because he's earned it.
He earned it, and he made you yell talking about it.
Not too many fighters make me yell, at this point in the show. But Barack, I'm feeling amped, and I'm excited for what's to come for Charlo.
I definitely share your excitement. I mean, like I always say, this backs my theory up that the best are fighting the best. We have undisputed champions in so many divisions in the past few years. Cruiserweight, 140, 154, 168. It just says that the best are fighting the best. Now, I just want to congratulate Charlo for doing something phenomenal in becoming the 7th person in the 4-belt era, that's what we call it, to capture all 4 belts and become undisputed. So congratulations, Charlo. Now, yes, we could say, hey, you know what? He probably won the Harrison fight. And some people said it could have went either way, the first fight with Castano. And it would have been great if Charlo would have won those things. But there's something about seeing a fighter go through adversity and then come back. That's why this phrase, 2-time champion, is even better than a fighter who's undefeated their whole career for some reason. You know, it's just such a big badge of honor to go through adversity and then come back, switch things, make some adjustments, and then win that fight. And I think the adjustments he made in the beginning, maybe the first couple of rounds, was the jab. He's throwing more jabs, trying to set up those power punches. And I believe he looked back, I believe Jermell Charlo looked back at the Castano fight, the first one, and said, you know what, all I had to do was throw a couple of more punches. Now, you'll never outwork Brian Castano. That's not gonna happen. You're not gonna out-throw Brian Castano. But if you just turn it up a notch, in which that's what Jermell Charlo did, he threw more punches, more power punches, catching him in between shots, just like the first fight. He figures, you know what, I could have finished him in the 10th round last fight. I need to finish him, and that's what he did in this fight. Finished him in the 10th round by throwing more power punches and setting him up with the jab and moving a little bit more.
And you know what, just to give you new fight fans some context, when I said he pulled Floyd Mayweather twice, I'm referring to Floyd having a fight with Castillo and people questioning that fight and him rematching him and beating him convincingly. And he did it again against Marcos Maidana. So I guess he's pulled a Floyd Mayweather 2 times just like Floyd did. Now, Barack, one thing that was impressive as well is the dog that he showed in that fight. He did get hit with some few shots, didn't back down, stayed his ground, stayed in the pocket until he was able to get his shots off. So he had to take a few in the line of fire to land some big shots. And the body attack, the left hook to the body was picture perfect. I love the way he's throwing that left hook to the body. Credit to Derrick James, who at times doesn't get the credit he deserves as a trainer. Having Errol Spence fighting the way he did, being Ugas, having an undisputed champion, having a unified champion at 147. Credit to Derrick James, who's a hell of a trainer. And his fighters get better every fight.
They got like 7, 8 belts over there, counting the Ring Magazine belts. He's already trainer of the year, probably. He's definitely in the runnings at #1, and there's nobody close to him. You know, we got to give him credit because I believe Derrick James is to Jermall Charlo what Sugar Hill was to Tyson Fury. Somebody that said, hey, listen, you have more than just boxing ability. You can sit down on your punches and you can get these guys out of here. So now you're a double threat. You can outbox them, you can set up those shots, and then when the fight goes on and you take them into deep waters, you can get them out of there. Jermell Charlo is an incredible threat. I believe he wants to stay at 154. You know, everybody says when you come undisputed, hey, you want to go to a different weight class. There's nothing wrong with staying in your weight class and defending all the belts. That's another part of legacy that even the greats have never done. And you're number 7 in this era. I commend you on that.
Well, no question about that. But his older brother, Jermall Charlo, has said that he wants to move up to 168 and he feels like he wants to let his brother reign at 160. So he feels like there's nothing else.
If that happens, do that.
Yeah, he said, you know, he's accomplished everything there is to accomplish that division. Now it's time to win titles in different divisions. So maybe that's a nice follow-up. Him moving up to 160, trying to fight for those crowns while his brother moves up to 168. I love it.
Same here. And listen, you said it was a boxing-filled weekend, and it definitely was. And also, Kovalev, the return of Kovalev at a new weight class. I thought it was going to be interesting just to see how he performs at 200 pounds. It wasn't the biggest opponent, but it was a pretty formidable opponent at 200 pounds. And Kovalev proved that he still is a boxer and not just a puncher.
Yeah, listen, Kovalev is always, in my opinion, you know, when he started getting a lot of recognition, I looked at him as a boxer puncher. Like this guy can actually box, but he can punch hard. That's why he's knocking guys out. He had to show that different weight class, bigger guys, stronger guys, out of the ring for a long time. And he was able to show that he still has some boxing ability. Can he compete with the big names at cruiserweight? It's yet to be seen. We'll see if he continues to fight.
You know what else is interesting about the weekend, Aki? Talk about Bakole dominating Tony Yoka and deserving the victory. And Tony Yoka was a good prospect, but I hate when this happens. Like, it kind of robs you of your win. It just creates controversy, and when something that should have just been a straight victory for Bakole. And if you look at it, it was because one judge had it even. I don't know how he saw it even, but then when you look at it, Yoka is a French fighter. That judge was a French judge. Just not good for boxing. Not saying that he didn't write down what he saw, but it's not good for boxing when the whole world sees a different fight than the judge who's paid to see the fight correctly.
Well, nothing new in the sweet science, Barack. We've been talking about this for years. There aren't going to be any changes made until there's something put in place after controversial fights like this, where the judges are judged. All right. Look, more on that story and all things boxing. Make sure you go to the Zone News. They got you covered. Peace and love. Stay safe.